if it wasn't for John Williams, the NFL wouldn't be what it is today. Hey everyone, welcome back to another John Williams-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And we are back with the music of John Williams, the documentary on Disney Plus. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's really good. And it's like an hour and 45 minutes, so it's not like a quick documentary. It's a full-length documentary. Learn a lot, but we're here to discuss it. So it's not really specifically Star Wars. It's just everything he does. So it's kind of a little off-brand from us. But John Williams is everything about Star Wars. So
yeah,
they definitely talk about tons of Star Wars stuff too. But we everyone loves his music, does Star Wars music. So we're gonna do it for an episode. So go check that out if you haven't. It's a lot of fun. But this past weekend, Drew and I went to Twin Cities Con. And how is the vlog coming?
I have not even looked at that yet.
What do you mean?
I haven't had time.
You're supposed to give it to Stephanie. She can get it done.
Yeah, I should be like, you cannot go to Korea next week until you finish.
Oh, that's right.
Video.
Is she gonna have time to do it before she goes on a trip?
Probably not,
bro.
Maybe I should. Oh, you know what I'll do is while she's flying, I'll give her it and she can edit it on the airplane. She has a 15-hour flight.
Can she upload it for us too?
Probably not in Korea, but it'll be up. It'll be up. We still got a little time. Like, it's still gonna be relevant. Granted, I don't know how much footage we got because it was kind of chaotic. In a good way. It was busy. It was
way too busy.
It was the busiest con that.
Okay, it was busy, but it was. I don't think it was as well organized as it should have been.
Really, I actually.
They only had those 3 doors to go in.
I was gonna say, Jeremiah, I think it was the most organized con I've been to. That's been not
really.
Busy.
I don't know, like because that wait line in the middle of the day was like 1.5 miles long, and they only had the 3 doors. I'm saying they should have had more doors open, more security checks. They didn't even use the whole floor to like auditorium to like put stuff.
They should have 2 different entrances and different security checks. Okay, so like the first year, I didn't go last year. I went the year before, and there was no like security check, which can be a good or bad thing, obviously. Like, to pick your poison. Granted, it was like way less people, and it was only half that room. And like our passes, right? Our press passes, you can just budge the line and walk in as these people are waiting in line. So like last time, like Tanner and Louie were like in line. I was like, "Hi guys," and I just walked past them and went in. Like, I went in early. This time, our passes really didn't do anything except pay for us to go. Like, that's about what the passes were. Like, they didn't really get us in anything special. They didn't really do anything except we just didn't have to pay, which is cool. It's fine. Like, not complaining about it. I'm just saying it was like a little different because typically a press pass would like get you in before most people so you can film more, like, without being like bum rush. So like that would be probably like my only criticism. But I felt like your entrance, like, it could have been faster, but it also didn't really take too long. But there was like 40,000 people there. Like, it was a lot of people. Like, they're saying.
Well, we got there right away when the line was almost not there. There was barely a line. Then when after panels, it took us like 10, 15 minutes waiting. But like when we were in panels, that line was probably at least a half mile long, and it would have taken at least an hour to get in.
Yes, and I feel like that's kind of where they dropped the ball, because like in the entrance when you got in the beginning, you can walk through security, and then you waited in like a waiting area before you got into. They opened the gate to like the main hall, or not open the gate, whatever. But like after that is like to get in to the security part, it took forever, and all the panels weren't in the main hall, so you had to leave your security safety to go to these panels, and then if you wanted to go back in, you had to wait a way longer time. And I feel like they got to figure that out, because I feel like you can't have people go through a security check and then make them do it all again, but it's way longer wait. Like, I don't know how they would do it in that building, but like, I don't know if they like there's a way to like zone off a section so you go to through security once and you don't have to continuously going through it. I don't know. I think they're trying to figure it out. But what I was going to say is, like, I went to ICCC Con, which was almost that much people, but it was in a hotel. And that was crazy. Like, that line that we saw, that was like that to go like visit Ian McDermott, and it was like through aisles of a hotel building. But then they switched it because they outgrew the space. So then they moved to like a convention center kind of like that the next year, and they had half the people go because they liked the feel of the like hotel and cramp. So the last year they went back to that, which is really interesting. I don't know, people don't like change.
But yes, watch out for the vlog.
Yeah,
anyway,
watch out for the vlog.
On.
Either way, I was gonna say I didn't really film as much as I should have, because me and Jeremiah kind of were running around like the place, and then it was also when I wanted to film, it got kind of really cramped really fast. So I apologize if the video is going to be short. I don't actually know how long it is going to be. It might be more panels than anything, but me and Jeremiah had fun. Like, we went to 2 panels and they were both really good. Actually, we went to 3, but one of them I didn't record. But I don't know. Like, I had fun, and Twin Cities Con's like becoming bigger and bigger every year. So it's like tripled since the last time I went. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of wanted to stay longer, but at the same time, I did not feel like it.
When we were there for 6 hours and we saw everything. So
yeah.
But yes, so check out the vlog when it comes out in the near future. Definitely, they already announced it's the same weekend for next year. So
yep,
we'll maybe try and go to that one too again. Maybe we'll see, but put it on your calendars. See who the the actors and voice actors that will be there. There's a lot of cool if you want to like spend money on cool like art. Like, there's tons of art vendors there that are selling stuff and really cool stuff. So definitely worth at least a check out if you're near Minnesota. Still not like a big one like Comic-Con or thing, but it's getting more and more popular.
But it's getting pretty big. It's the Twin Cities' biggest one for sure.
Cool to see what other actors they bring in the future. But but also this weekend we got a big announcement. Andor Season 2 is coming out April 22nd.
Yep.
Which
we were together when that was announced.
But we were surprised because we didn't think we were going to get, because it comes out the Tuesday after Star Wars Celebration, which, we thought we were going to get the first trailer during Star Wars Celebration, and it would come out like maybe end of summer or something, like, and line up with how Season 1 came out end of August and into the fall. But it's coming earlier, so we're excited for that. And so, we're guessing maybe sometime in January or February there might be a trailer drop.
Well, did you see the little teaser?
Well, there's like the multi-show.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Saw that. Just you get a couple
new scenes. But so I don't know. It's exciting. It's coming quick, and they're advertising for it. I think Andor is going to have a lot of advertisement because it's one of their more expensive shows to create. So
yeah, but it's going to be weird that Star Wars Celebration, they'll have Andor stuff because it's going to be just before, but it's like, does that mean they're going to have even more announcements of things? That's why they're like not going to focus on Andor that weekend. It's kind of just interesting, like what they're.
So it comes out the Tuesday after Celebration. honestly, I would not be surprised if they just decide to put it on that weekend.
Well, they'll do a screening at the con, like
Yeah,
the first episode or something for
because
people
didn't
that
they
are.
do that one time where they're like,
Well, Obi-Wan, the first episode was released at Star Wars Celebration because Lucy and her family went to
oh
Star Wars Celebration, and they were
yeah,
there and they watched it like in theaters or something, like wherever at the thing, like with all these
with the
people
crowd of
before
people,
before everyone in the world saw it. They got to see it, so I'm sure they'll do that with Andor. Like they can do
probably
whatever they want.
with the cast of Andor in the front row.
Yeah. So,
Ugh.
but
Yeah, I would love to go to Star Wars Celebration
that
this
just
year.
means that there's gonna be, I think, a lot more trailers and announcements and stuff that like probably an animated show. We might get like a teaser for Grogu and the Mandalorian because they already had a secret trailer that if you looked it up on YouTube, like you could see like someone with the camera in the audience filming it. I don't know if you find them anymore, but like it's getting exciting what they're going to be doing. So, but that's just in April, so we're getting close to Star Wars Celebration. So we're looking forward to that.
Dude, these two are so loud today.
Yeah, I can hear your kid. Yeah, I think that's all that was announced. Really, nothing
Yeah,
other news I can really think of that was really important. So we are here for John Williams documentary. So, Drew, what did you think overall about this documentary?
I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the I don't know. I love documentaries personally if they're done right, obviously. And yeah, it's long, but they could have split it up in between 3 episodes, and it would have been like a normal documentary. Like you know what I mean? Like they could have easily split it up. They didn't, and I really liked that it was all about John, and on top of that, he was in it the whole time talking about himself. And I think that's really cool that they decided to do this before he passes away or whatever. Like he's not young, he's really old. And to like give this give him his flowers before he's gone, I think is really cool. That they're like, you know what, we're gonna make a documentary about you, and you're gonna be the main character in it, and you're gonna be alive for this, and like, because like so many documentaries you get about people and they're already gone. So it's just like stories about this person from other people's perspective. They did that, and he was telling stories. So I thought it was really cool. And I like I said, it's cool that they gave him his flowers. And dude, my kid is going crazy.
If you don't know, we are recording this at 9:30 in the morning when we normally record at night when Miles is sleeping. So
Yes.
he's alive and kicking and punching right now.
Yeah. If you guys ever thought that Miles was not a real person,
Yeah, you can
clearly
hear
he
him.
is. He's on the other side of this wall beating
Yep.
up a boxing bag. And Stephanie is also yelling really loud with him too. So those two need to chill out. Um anyways, yeah, so I don't know. I really enjoyed the documentary and I thought it was really good. And the way they broke down his story about how he like started playing piano and his dad made him play piano, and he kind of just got forced into this business like in a way where like he didn't know what else to do, and he was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, and then he just became the best person to ever do it. I think it was really cool. It was a really cool way. Like that's not kind of things that happen anymore. Like people plan their whole life around like something they really want to do, and it was like it was his dream, but not like it was so interesting the way they described it. Like it was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's tons about him that I didn't know. Like, I guess I never really thought about like how did he get into this industry.
Hmm.
Um, so I guess kind of assumed that it was just something he like wanted to do and just went after it when that's not how it happened. And so it was
Hmm.
interesting to learn that. Um, and like I don't know, like there were movies that like because they went through like his whole life and then kind of like focused on like a bunch of like other movies, like a bunch of movies and franchises that he's been a part of, and there's just like a lot of movies like I completely forgot that he did the music for, or I didn't even know he did the music for. Like I didn't know he did the music for Home Alone. Like I
What, you didn't?
I didn't never knew that. Like I haven't watched the movies in a long time, and so it's like I never even like remember looking at the credits or anything like that. But like when you think of John Williams, you don't think of
Oh, I think
a
of
little
Home
kid
Alone.
beating up on a bunch of robbers. Like I
Well,
don't
like
know.
Home Alone is like Stephanie's one of her favorite movies of all time. So we watch it consistently every year. So I already knew that was like him. I didn't realize that he didn't do all of Harry Potter. That kind of like
I think I remember that. Like I when it was said, I was like, oh, and I was thinking like I think I remember hearing that he just did the first three movies. He established all the main themes, and then
mm-hmm.
other composers. I don't know who, if it was one or more that finished them, but
Yeah.
um, that was
But
interesting.
I
But
like that they kept going with his theme though, which is really cool. Like they kept using his way of doing it.
yeah, so like I don't know. I kind of got some notes, kind of just going through.
Yeah, it's kind of
Um,
hard to break down a documentary
but
about someone.
we'll
It's
kind of just
not.
go over kind of like because once it got to like the Star Wars stuff, like it was just then kind of like them hitting movies, different franchises and stuff. So it kind of like doesn't get a lot of like history really. But like the
Mhm.
first half, like the first like 45 minutes or whatever, it's kind of like a lot of like the history and lead up to Star Wars. So, um, like Drew said, um, like it's this was like his dad was a musician and was like in a kind of like a big band, like jazz band, kind of like that era of like the 1940s and 50s or whatever. And he was just doing music and then forced his kids to do music. He was like,
Yeah,
what was it
as you
like?
should.
For every hour of baseball you practice, you had to do at least 30 minutes of
Hmm.
playing piano. So John Williams would play baseball and play in the neighborhood and stuff, but then he had to come home and play piano and practice piano. And so that's kind of like his dad made him do that. Um, and then kind of what really was like a major stepping was they moved to Hollywood, and his dad was involved with music in Hollywood at the time. And so John was just kind of like he'd be on set, like or not like on set, but like the in the studio, like with his dad when he would like play and record and stuff like that. So it's like he was involved in like movie music even as a child because his dad was involved with it. So I thought that was kind of cool. Um, it's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like how like sports athletes like they always have their kids like at practice and always at the stadium, and then like you always
Well,
hear about like kids become athletes in the same field that their dad or mom was in or something like
yeah,
that.
it's like very normal for like a football player for their kid to become a football player in the NFL too, like or like a baseball player.
Yeah,
Like, wasn't Joe Joe Mauer like a water boy for the Twins for a long time? I think
I have no clue.
because his dad worked for the Twins somehow, and so he was a water boy for the Twins, and then he got drafted to us and never left. Like, there's a lot of stories like that where like certain players, like parents worked there, or like the Manning brothers, like their dad played and their
Yeah.
grandpa played. Like it's like a generation that everyone. And then at a certain point, you have the same last name. You're gonna get drafted just because you have this. You know what I mean? Like, just happens like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Yeah, he's always around it, and he didn't know anything different. Like for him, he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do music because that's." And it wasn't his mom a musician too. His mom was like,
I think they said that she was just like involved with music, but like
mhm.
they didn't really focus too much on her. This is because the dad had the career.
You know what's
So
crazy is that his brothers. So he had two brothers and one sister. His sister was like a really good played piano, and he said that she was better than him. But his two other brothers are in music too, and they're both still alive.
Yeah,
At least when this documentary is made, I should say.
well, they
But
were probably younger than him.
no, I don't think so. I think he was one of. It was his sister was the youngest one, and she passed away before them.
Oh, I don't really remember them
Yeah.
too much, but
Granted,
I
he's also what
think he's
94,
92.
92.
So
He's not young,
not young.
and he's still working, just not on
Yeah.
films.
And so, but moving forward, so he's moved to Hollywood with his family and was involved in the music there. But like, um, he was just involved in music in high school with like band and doing productions with the school and all that stuff. And then when he joined the military, which I didn't know, he was
Hmm.
uh, in the military band. But then like there was kind of like a military like documentary thing that they were making a little bit, and they needed music for it. And they just asked John, "Hey, can you arrange some music for this film?" I don't even know if it was like a full length film. I think it might have just been maybe like promo something. I can't remember what they said, but
Yeah,
like he did the music for that, and that was kind of like his first like gig as like someone who could write music. Um, and that kind of like what was like the start of his career. And what I didn't know that before he was really a music like a film composer, he was like a jazz composer.
hmm.
Did you know that?
I did not. I remember hearing something, but I didn't realize how famous he was for jazz.
Yeah, because like later in the documentary when they had George Lucas or talking to George Lucas, like trying to find music, like someone suggested, it might have been Steven Spielberg, like suggested that
Hmm.
he consider John Williams, and George Lucas was like, John Williams, I thought he was a jazz composer. Like he was like a known like
Yeah,
this is back in the 70s, so it's like it was not like, oh, a million artists because they're just viral, but like so like for you to know a name back then, like goes to show their popularity because that means they were on the radio or like they were
yeah,
like somewhere like somewhat popular that the general population would know about you. So like he was known as a jazz composer. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, that's cool.
He was big enough where they like people knew him as that. Granted, like now, like it's probably hard for us to know him as that because he's overtaken every movie and any major theme for pretty much any good soundtrack. He was he was the person that did it. Like everything from our childhood, any cool movie that came out when we were kids, most likely he was the one that like did the music for it, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, and so like um because he had that jazz career and all that knowledge, like he said, like that's how he was able to write the Cantina song because it's kind of jazzy. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, that's kind of interesting. That because I'm like when you look at think of John Williams music, you think of a certain thing, and then like he has a Cantina song, which is very different. I'm like, it's kind of weird that he wrote that too, but like he knew how to write
But
that.
now it's not. Now it's like, oh, that makes sense. He was actually probably more comfortable writing that at the
Yeah,
time than he was the whole other theme.
yeah, and so as that was going on, he was still. I think it said that he was playing piano in movie soundtracks. Like he was just like a musician in these orchestras and and whatnot. And so like he was just involved in playing, but like it goes to show like all the little progressions of everything. Like he just you know played piano. Then like he moved to Hollywood. And his dad was involved with Hollywood music, and then he was in a military band, and they asked him to write some music. And then he was a jazz composer, and then he's being involved in the music and movies already, but he's just playing, and he's just slowly moving up. And then he gets like does the music for TV shows, but like the way they said it was like single episodes of shows. So it was like every week he was just writing something for one episode from one random show, and they're all different genres and types and stuff. So he's just like pushing out all this music just for single shows, and then
Yeah, he said like the most one he was doing was comedies back then.
Except, yeah, that was mainly all they had back then for TV shows. Kind of, there wasn't really any
That's true.
dramas per se. There was like some sci-fi stuff with like he did Lost in Space, which is I guess was more of a sci-fi than a comedy, but like a sci-fi back in the '60s or whatever isn't like super intense. Like so, like he did that. But early in his career, he was known as Johnny Williams.
Yeah, that's weird thing to
Yeah,
call.
and then like I don't know who it was, but they're like when he was getting more popular and getting bigger gigs, they're like, you need to go by John because that's more adult or something, more professional sounding. So that's he went to John Williams, and so that's cool. And then like I think he said like he was involved in doing musicals, like writing music for musicals too.
Well, because he didn't write the songs for Fiddler on the Roof, but then he composed like the orchestra that like was on the film of the movie Fiddler on the Roof, right?
Right, because Fiddler on a Roof is like a musical,
Yeah, but
and
it's
then
like
there was an adaptation to be the film that he then wrote the music for. So,
yeah.
um, and he said like, they kind of threw this in here in the middle of it, which is kind of like I don't know where you put it in, but they said that even to this day he still writes everything by hand.
Yeah, because he like is this.
He never learned how to do the computer stuff. Like it's just it took
And his excuse, like I liked his excuse. It's not that he didn't want to, he wasn't interested in like technically learning it. He was just so busy that the technology kept going and he was so busy working that he could
right,
never adapt to the technology. It
right,
wasn't that he's like, I'm not gonna do it. It was like more like he could never do it. He never got to the point where he was able to do it because the technology kept moving, but he was always working nonstop.
right.
So, which is really
I just want to know like the people then they get the sheet music that he writes, and then they have to like type it in by hand or whatever, which is interesting. Like who does that? Like John Williams, like person that just
he
types
has
in
like a yeah like someone who
an assistant that,
transposed it
but
to digital.
like these people, they get to see the music before the musicians do, before most people do, and they get to like sneak peek, which is kind of cool.
And something that I learned that I didn't realize is that like sorry, I had to mute myself because my
Oh,
kid screamed at the
I
top
thought
of
you
his
froze for a
lungs.
second.
No, I heard it. So I know my kid's cadence when he's like, and he was like, and I knew it was gonna be a loud one, and I muted, and it was super loud. So that's why I muted quick. No, so like I didn't know that when a writer is like or like directing a film, they'll add their own music pieces to it from like different soundtracks and stuff, and like what they would think would fit, and then they would give that to the composer and like during this scene this is the kind of music we want, and then you create your own to that. And apparently a lot of like composers hate that because they don't like it to like try to fit, and it's like almost harder. But then John liked it because he was able to like put the pieces together, and he thinks it's like more like a puzzle. Like the Jaws theme, the guy originally wanted like a horror, like super loud, like way different, a lot of screeches and a lot, but he wanted something different. But then John's like, well, how about this? And he played him three chords. And then that was like it. And then the next movie he did with him, he did five chords. And now he's doing like 100. That was one of those ones I should have muted. But then he did like 100 and something chords, you know? Like it's so super cool how he was talking about how they like create a film with the music. So that was cool.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know how many people know this, but the Jaws theme is kind of a plagiarism a little bit. Like it's
Yeah.
from the New World Symphony, which is by Dvorak or some composer from like the 1800s or something, where it's like it's not exactly the same, but if you play them back to back, like you could see that John Williams was inspired by this specific melody from, and there's like other instances of that too, where like it's kind of like John gives a nod to composers of the past, but he makes it his own. So,
But if you think of that music though, like writing songs, like most songs are in the same four chords. You know what I mean? So they're just different variants of
well,
those same
chords are
four
one thing, but
chords.
melodies is the hard thing of like
Yeah.
I just
Like
don't know. Like, I'm not a musician. Like, you're more
mhm.
musically inclined than I am, but like creating a melody in your head that's like descriptive of a character or a scene or something. Like, I don't know how someone can just like make up
Dude, I
a
don't know.
melody.
Like from from me, like I played drums for years. I can play multiple instruments. I've been in bands and stuff. I still don't understand how you can create themes like that. Like, and I was in band in high school and like did that whole thing, and I still don't understand it. And like, I've played a lot of his music in high school, and so like for me, it's like it was really cool to see how he was creating these themes and music and he did Star Wars and then he did another film like right after like literally after to the point where he couldn't even he didn't realize how big Star Wars was getting or he couldn't enjoy that moment because he was already working on a different project that had just as much music into it as Star Wars did, which was crazy to for me to like hear. Like he couldn't even they're like, "Oh yeah," like his daughter was saying that Star Wars was blowing up. And he was like, "Oh, cool. Like I'm working on a different huge project." So like, yeah.
Yeah. And so, kind of a major turning point in his career was when, um, so his wife was an actress, and uh, she suddenly died of an aneurysm when she was on set of some like in a different state or whatever. And so like that was obviously your spouse dies, like it's gonna be a very emotional, like life changing thing. And so like he kind of took a step back a little bit from everything, and he ended up writing a violin concerto like for her after she died. And like that was kind of like when he did that, that's when he got back into music more, um, which is interesting. Like I guess I didn't know that he had a wife that died. Did you know that?
I didn't know that he had kids. I
You
didn't
knew
know
he
he
had
had a wife.
kids.
Huh?
You know he had kids because remember his son was the singer of that band Toto.
Oh yeah, I did. Never mind. I don't know. I just assumed he was married. Like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't know that she died. And she died when they're pretty young
It
and I
was
don't
before Star Wars, so this was like in the 70s.
and they didn't mention it, but I don't think he ever got remarried.
No, he did. They had a whole thing about it.
Oh, they did? Maybe I missed that part.
You were
I,
watching it at 2 o'clock in the morning,
yeah,
so.
maybe I wasn't paying attention.
But he ended up remarrying, um, and
Is she
he's
gone too
no,
now?
he's still married to that. She seemed like she was, uh,
She wasn't really on screen, though, was she?
yeah.
How did I miss that whole part?
Remember, she's like he wrote something, and then she's like listening to it, and she's like crying, like in the documentary.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
I forget which one it was that he wrote that like made her cry, but like, um,
You're right. You're right. Now it's coming to me. Yep, 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 yep.
yeah. So but I think she was a little bit, quite a bit younger. So like, you see her now, she looks like way young compared to him when he's
Yeah.
92. Um, but what
But
was
he didn't really start writing music for movies until his like mid 40s.
yeah, because he was 30. He was born in 32.
Mm-hmm.
So in the 70s is kind of like
Because
when
he was
a lot
in
of his
World War II, right?
no,
I thought he was.
no, because he was born in 1932. So
No,
he would
yeah,
have been
that
10
math
years old
doesn't.
in the middle of the war.
That math doesn't
But he was just
add
in the
up.
military when he was post college or post high school or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but what I thought was super interesting was he had to choose between Star Wars and another movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a movie called A Bridge Too Far, which they didn't really say I can't remember what they said what it was about or what, but I think it might have been like a military movie, like or something like that, and then Star Wars, and he had to choose. Like, what if he didn't choose Star Wars?
You probably wouldn't.
Like, I want to know,
We
like
wouldn't be
who,
talking. We wouldn't be doing this right now.
like I wonder who George Lucas had in mind at the time.
Well, I don't think he had anyone in mind.
Well, he would have had to like had some names of contemporary
Dude, I don't want to
composers
think
of that
about that.
time, like what themes they would have created, or like it's kind of nuts.
It's
But
kind of like one of those things. They should do a what if without like the same movies, but just with someone else's music.
they could do that. That would be interesting.
We hear about that a lot, though. Like a lot of people, like could have done this instead of Star Wars, but I chose to like do the risky move and do Star Wars. Like there's so many instances like that. Like with everything, like Harrison Ford was working on the set of Star Wars, and the guy that was playing his character called in sick that day, so
What?
he just started reading lines.
I never heard that.
Yeah, you
Wait,
didn't know
wasn't
that?
Harrison Ford already like a big name?
He was like becoming an actor, but he was actually working on the set of Star Wars. He wasn't in the movie. He was doing like building sets, and then yeah,
I never heard that. But
I've heard it from multiple sources, like multiple different things. I could be wrong. Could be like one of those rumors that go around, but he was not. I know for a fact he was not originally cast for Harrison Ford or for Han Solo. And the guy that played Han Solo called in sick, so then he started reading those lines, and then he got the part.
well, I don't know.
So
I'd say Will go check on that, but I think Will is
Will's probably sleeping. No, he's probably working.
working. um,
You guys can fact check me in the YouTube comments.
but what's interesting though is so all these other movies and shows and stuff that John Williams did prior to Star Wars were not full orchestras. They're just kind of like ensembles and fewer people or whatever. But this was like I think they mentioned this was his first soundtrack that he wrote where it was a full symphony
Mm-hmm.
orchestra. Because he just felt like him and George and all them like thought that this is what was necessary to really capture like the emotion and the music and stuff like that. So first time using a symphony orchestra, and Star Wars was the first movie soundtrack to go platinum in sales. Because it was interesting because I think it was Ron Howard they had in this one, like this kind of like saying how you couldn't go rewatch a movie at home or whatever. They didn't have VHSs and stuff like that. So the way people relive these movies was just
Just
by
listening to them.
listening to the music, and it's kind of interesting because we are so familiar with the movies, and like when we hear a certain soundtrack, like we are in the scene, we know that what they're saying right at the moment. Like
Mm-hmm.
people just had to do this before; they just had to remember these scenes with this music, and they just lived it the same way. So that's
Well,
cool.
even was it John that was saying that he went to a movie, or was it someone else that like went to the movie multiple times just to hear the
I think
music?
that was Ron Howard that said
Oh
that.
yeah, like he went there multiple times just to hear John's music, not necessarily to actually watch the film. He was just so into the music that was in the film.
Yeah, I remember. This is kind of a little side note, but like, there's a YouTube channel that I watched. They're big, huge Star Wars. One of the bigger YouTubers, like for like reaction videos,
Hmm.
movies and stuff like that. And so they said back in high school before Revenge of the Sith came out, like you couldn't watch trailers on the internet back then, and so they'd pay to go into movies just to see the trailer before movies, just to see the Star Wars trailer over and over again.
Dang.
Like,
That's what's up.
that's crazy. That's just 20 years ago. People had to do that,
Yeah.
and now we can watch trailers on repeat whenever we want.
Multiple times. That's expensive.
And then they knew like which movies like would have the preview before it, because not every movie has the same preview. So like they would buy tickets to the same movie multiple times.
That's kind of cool
to
though.
go and watch just to go to watch the preview of the Star Wars trailer.
That's sweet. Yeah, it's crazy to think that was like only 20 years ago when we had to do stuff like that too.
Yep. And then kind of like the last point of like the main history stuff though was the whole, the scene when Luke comes out of the homestead and he's like looking at the binary sunset, like they had like more like intense music in that moment. Like they showed like the original track that John Williams that they put in for that scene, and George was like, might have been John was like, I don't think it fits.
I think it was John that said that.
And then he like went, and that's when he wrote the Force theme that we are familiar with, and the binary sunset like track is its own track. Like really interesting how the movie making process happens, where it's like he's actually, because he's more involved with like watching the movie and writing the music at the same time, and sitting there with, if it's like his main person that he's worked with is Steven Spielberg, and like they're like watching the movie side by side, like talking about music and trying to re-edit the music and like how like rewrite parts of it and stuff. And
he was the one that convinced them to do Star Wars in the first place.
I think Steven Spielberg was kind of like the mediator between George Lucas and John Williams.
Because he was like, you should do this movie. And he's like, I've never heard of this. And like, what are we doing when I can do? It was like a war movie that he was going to do.
Yeah.
With all the big named actors at the time. So he's like, I know I'm going to make money on this one. This one's a little like, but then Steven was like, this is different. This is new. This is like exciting. And even John was like, yeah, I didn't even hear about American Graffiti before this. And he said, he's like, what was his wording? He was like, and that was like a bummer. Like he was mad at himself for not actually, like he really liked American Graffiti apparently, like in hindsight.
Right.
So it was like really interesting. And I think a big thing that we kind of haven't touched on yet is how much like movie composers and like composers in general, like composers were like kind of downgrading movie composers. Like,
I was going to get to that coming up next.
Oh, I thought it was before.
But yeah. So then, after Star Wars, that's kind of like where his main movie career like skyrocketed, like because he went platinum pretty quickly after that movie came out. But he did then eventually start putting on like concerts for his soundtrack music, like that was never done before, and he starts doing that and he conducts those. But like he also got like appointed to be the director of the Boston Orchestra or whatever it was, and he was there. And then but like all these musicians, like old school, like professional, like violinists and stuff, like they were the ones that were pushing like the hate towards playing soundtrack music, because they just thought it was unsophisticated and like old school stuff from Beethoven and Bach and all of them OGs. Like that's the real music. And it's just kind of interesting that like, every generation they hate the next generation of music that comes out. Like it's just what people do. It's just whatever. But like even orchestral music, this isn't good. This isn't music, not my music, whatever. Like, it's just kind of
Yeah.
funny that like from
Which and like they're saying like those lines were getting blurrier and blurrier with John working on music, and then it got to the point where now, like when people think of that, they also think of movie and film, like the music in those films are just as iconic as a Mozart or something like that. Like John Favreau is like like not our generations, like our parents and our generation Mozart. Like he is one of those people that like writing music and themes that like you hear it and you know exactly where that's from. Like people could hear Vader's theme music and they could see Vader and they don't even need to see Star Wars, but they know exactly who he is. They know where that song's come from and all that stuff. And that's so rare these days. Like people ex- like people watch things in 5 seconds. Like they want things quick and fast and short. And so like for them to like have these themes and music and then also film that is like so iconic that someone can never watch Star Wars, but they know who Vader is, they know who like the droids are, like, and it's just crazy to think about how impactful those things are. Like Miles at 3 years old has never fully sat through Star Wars, but he knows exactly who Vader is, what he sounds like, and if he hears the Star Wars music, he knows exactly what that is. And he's 3.
right.
Like that's how crazy John's music is. Like
But
it's
I'm
so
sure, you know,
impactful.
like if he hears the Bluey soundtrack, like
That's true.
he's here
Yeah.
too. But
Oh no.
little kids, they're so absorbent of like
Yeah. Well,
everything. So
Bluey, yeah, that's how he learned how to say mom and dad was from that song. Don't get me wrong. That's pretty impactful for him. But like Jurassic Park, we know like you and me could hum that right now and I haven't seen that movie in like
Jurassic
10
Park might
years.
be after Star Wars might be like the most like the second most iconic
And
movie in movies.
Jaws is pretty iconic in his 3 chords.
It is, but it's like
Duh. Like everyone knows what that is.
yeah, but I'm saying like just the themes of
Oh
like
yeah, I know. Like it's
after Star
he's
Wars, I
had so
feel like
much.
it's Jurassic Park.
Home Alone, that soundtrack is crazy. You think of Christmas, you think of its soundtrack.
I
Like,
don't think of that as
see,
movie
I
for
do. Da, 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 da. Like, it's just like I know it. Like, it's just crazy. E.T. Like, I totally forgot
E.T.
he E.T.
Yep,
too. Like, look who decided to wake up.
yep. Good morning, Will. But thanks for posting the link. um, but yeah, so he became the conductor of the Boston Philharmonic, whatever. Um, but like because like we said, you know, like these musicians that he was conducting were hating on the music, like it pushed John to quit. Like they were
Mm.
complaining that much that he kind of like rage quit the orchestra, and then like 6 weeks later, after like negotiations and talks, like he came back, and then things were smoothed over. But it's like,
Yeah, because people were talking crap that he was playing themes from movies and stuff, and
and
they're like,
then
"That's not music."
and then but like after that, like because he was kind of like this pioneer of like changing what classical music could be, really orchestral music is. Like he would combine all these different genres. Like he'd have, I forgot what they showed him, but like he combined like orchestra music with like people like singing or like dancing or whatever. I can forget what they showed specifically, but like he was just a pioneer in like combining different genres of music with the orchestra in these concerts. And so that's cool. Like when he has the freedom to do it, like he can do all these different things. And um, kind of like the last like main thing that like, I have written down is like he wasn't interested in ever really doing sequels, but like
Yeah.
but he had kind of like there were certain franchises that he felt like he needed to preserve the musical integrity of like keeping the music consistent through the story. And so like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, a little bit of Harry Potter, did 3 movies, and I think there's like 1 or 2 other franchises where he did sequels because he felt like it was necessary for him to preserve these musical themes and be consistent with that. But like it
Well,
wasn't
and
really
I think
interested
Star
for him to do
Wars
other
was
ones.
like the big one that made him like do that was because Star Wars, every character had their own theme. And I was like, George wanted that. Like, George wanted you to hear a theme and think of that character, like that major character. And John was saying that one of his favorite themes was the Yoda theme, is like
Yeah,
one of his favorite
Yoda
ones.
is his favorite Star Wars theme, and
Yeah.
then like an ET theme, and then there was another one. Like those are like his greatest accomplishments. Which
Hmm.
the thing about Yoda is like if you like play different songs, like I could tell you which one is Yoda, but I can't. I can never repeat it back to you like from memory, like what his theme is.
Yeah. It's not like Home Alone. Like Home Alone, there's like certain themes like the main Star Wars music. Dun, 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 dun. Like that comes in your head like right away. The Yoda thing, I can't even think of it right now off the top of my head. But for us, that's his listeners, right? But for him, that was probably hard to write that theme and to get it in the way he wanted it, you know. So that's probably why it stuck to him more because he's a creator. Like there's certain things that certain like you always think of like okay, an artist, right? They put out an album. These are the 2 songs in the album that are the hits. Like that's the ones they put on the radio and stuff. But the artist always likes this one song that's like means more to them, even though it's like not the major hit of the album. Most people will skip over that song, but for him, like for them, that's like their song in the album that they like to perform the most because it means more to them. And it's kind of like that with him. I was getting at like or felt like for him like the Star Wars themes and stuff are really cool and they're like the main themes, but then the Yoda theme was like his masterpiece in his mind, which was really cool.
Yeah. And then he said for the first Star Wars film, the Star Wars theme was the last thing he wrote.
Hmm.
Cause like he didn't know what to do, and it wasn't until after he did all the music for the first movie that he was able to understand the movie well enough to think like, okay, what would fit right here for the
Hmm.
opening crawl. And then this is the last thing I have on my notes, which I did with my opening. But he wrote the theme for the NBC NFL like thing. Did you know that?
I did know that, and but I forgot that he wrote the theme for the Olympics.
Yeah, I knew that one. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Like the Olympics. Like when you think of the Olympics and you hear that music, this is crazy. He's done everything.
Yeah.
Like all those major movies and movies that like still hold up. It's not like movies that like you watch it like, ooh, that's rough. Like Jurassic Park, that movie still holds up. The technology and stuff they did that. Indiana Jones, those movies are so solid, so good. And he wrote these themes for these movies that are still really good movies too. Like they're really good masterpieces. And I love that they did that thing where they showed it without his music and how unimpactful that scene in that movie was, and then they added the music and it like changed the perspective of it. And I know that there's like I think there was on YouTube where you could watch it like A New Hope without any music.
They
And you
have
can
that on
just
Disney Plus.
no, it was on YouTube
Oh,
before
on
Disney
YouTube. Sorry.
bought it. I don't know if it's still on there, but you could watch it without the music and then like fill it out and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, this is not like it's probably horrible to watch. Like it's rough because the music adds so much to everything." And a lot of it you don't even think about. It's just in the background. So,
Yeah, so I'm just on Wikipedia, And so I guess the last thing that he composed was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
The newest one. That was the last
Yeah,
thing.
so he doesn't really. He's kind of basically retired. He came back and did the Obi-Wan Kenobi series main theme, just in one song.
Yeah, he wasn't
But
going to, but
yeah, so his career is basically over. I don't know.
well, he's still working though. But like, he's
Well,
not doing
he's not
movies
he's
anymore.
not writing anything anymore though.
Yeah,
So
because he pretty much has a school, right?
he has what?
Wasn't they were talking about that school? Was that his school?
No, he just comes in once in a while as a guest to like.
Yeah, which is really cool, dude. And he golfs
He's not
with his.
good.
Yeah,
They showed
there's
him
that one
putting a couple of
shot. I was
times.
like, bro, but it's 92. I don't know. It just goes to show you, like, when you're doing something you love, and you just always do it, like he could retire like 40 years ago, and he was just like, nah. And I think that's like something that people forget. Like when you're retired and you're doing nothing, like your life gets like cut off. Like so many people, like my grandpa, for instance, when he was working nonstop hard. As soon as he's retired, he started deteriorating quick. Meanwhile, his brother, my great uncle, is 94 and still working on trucks every single day.
Right.
So it's just like goes to show you, like John's like he's still doing stuff constantly. I don't think he's sitting at home in his lounger watching TV. Like he's constantly doing stuff, and it keeps your brain working and your body working, which is like I don't know. It's gonna be that. I feel like when he passes, it's gonna be rough. Like I think it's gonna be sad.
So I just looked up how much money John Williams has made, and so they says here that it's the AI one, the first thing that comes
Mm-hmm.
up, that like the big composers like Hans Zimmer, John Williams probably make $1 to $2 million per movie, and he has estimated a net worth of over $100 million. Like he's made so much money, like just from like what you get paid to do the film, plus he probably gets paid royalties, and so
But I don't think he got paid that much to do Star Wars.
I don't know. Well, back then it wasn't a lot,
Yeah.
but he did the sequel trilogies, and so
Yeah.
I wonder if like he gets like any percent from the revenue from the movies at all. Like actors, they'll get like after it hits 500 million, they make like 1% of
Probably.
something. Like that. I
Dude,
wonder if he gets any cut.
he probably also makes money every time that NFL theme is played.
Well, that's probably just like a commission thing where they gave him a set thing.
You don't think it's like a commercial? Every time a commercial is playing, the
No,
actor can
no, because those things are just a one time.
it should get paid like that though.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't be able to make any money because they'd be giving up all that money. It's kind of like the
Yeah.
person who back in the '60s designed the Nike logo. I
Yeah, that
think
person
they
got
I think
screwed, bro.
I think they got paid $20. But like they don't the person wouldn't get paid for every Nike shoe it has or shirt or
They didn't
hat
average.
or
They didn't pull like what's it called? Michael Jordan. That was like
yeah,
his contract. He was like, every shoe I get like a certain percentage of every shoe that gets sold, and
of
that's
the
why.
of the Air Jordans. So
Yeah, of the Jordans,
because that's
and
his shoe, so that makes
yeah,
sense. But
but he doesn't design them. Like
no,
this is his name. What a
but
ripoff! Will said, yeah.
but yeah, that's John Williams. So if you haven't watched this, go. We just kind of did a quick overview of like mainly the first half. The second half is kind of like them talking about specific movies and franchises.
It's really, really good. I really encourage you guys to go watch it if you guys like documentaries and music. Like, it's a good one. Lucy, I'm looking at you. I'm pretty sure you would love this documentary.
Yeah, because she does music and stuff like that. So
and filming and acting, like it goes into really good detail of like all those what it takes to create a great movie, and a lot of that has to do with the music that's behind that film.
Yep.
So it's really cool.
All right. Well, that's all I have for this breakdown. But we have everyone's favorite time of every episode, voicemail time. So let's transition over.
I thought you were going to say coffee time.
It's voicemail time. We can do that at the end. Yep. Voicemail time. So we have 3 voicemails tonight.
Ooh.
First up from
this morning. You said that tonight.
Well, this is going posted tonight, so we'll go with that. First up from the Coup d'Etatverse, Garrett, who is Gakman in the chat, if you didn't know. So
I think I did know that.
He's been following us along in the chat.
And he fact-checked me about Han Solo. I was kind of wrong.
And so...
Not necessarily.
Last time, Garrett was saying how they took over the First Order base, but they're kind of like working with the First Order people that they captured and all that jazz. And so they're running the facility, which is kind of like the credit analytical thing where they're like taking in credits and making sure they're authentic, and they basically have all this money that they can distribute and stuff like that. And so they're working as the First Order, but they're not the First Order. And so this is where the story picks up. So let's take a listen.
Hey, Empire Radio, it's Garrett. My crew and I have been running this facility for quite some time now, and honestly, we've really been enjoying it. We started to rebuild our village nearby for families to live in while others work at the compound. We're basically just working for the First Order. Many people have made friends, have relationships with some of the First Order officers and troopers. We are completely immersed in the world of the First Order. We have all sworn to secrecy and made a cover story that's not completely incorrect. It's mostly a story of when the officer and troopers who were ordered to create this compound decided to only hire on-planet workers and hired me as second in command. But unfortunately, all the original people from the First Order had an accident, and that left the compound to be run by me. So we should be in the clear for quite some time, as long as we all stick to the story. But I do have plans to further investigate why this compound attacked us in the first place, and to find out what the First Order wants with me and my people. Speaking of plans, what are some plans you're looking forward to in your life? My grandpa is flying in from Florida for Christmas this year, and I'm super excited to spend time with him.
All right. Thank you, Garrett. So they're playing the part. They're trying to fake it until they make it, but I feel like someday some higher ups in the First Order are going to come to see there's a discrepancy in the paperwork or something like that, and they go and investigate, and then I feel like crap will hit the fan pretty quick. But the question is, what plans do we have for the future? Anything on the radar for you, Drew?
We might go to Florida next month. We haven't decided yet.
Next month? Already? You can take time off?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. I mean,
been at your job for like 2 months.
Not even.
They're already. How long
I'm on week 4.
How long are you gonna go for?
Go weekend.
Oh, just a weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I can go down there and go to Disney for one day and then come back. Like,
bro, that's gonna be so expensive.
Just not really.
Go down for one day, really?
Yeah. Like, we were talking about like, well, we can fly to Orlando, get a hotel room that night, or for like probably like 2 nights. Go there, sleep, go to Disney all day, sleep, and then get back on the plane and leave.
Bro, it's still gonna cost you thousands of dollars.
No, because
a hotel alone is gonna be like $500 a night, probably.
Nah, I have my ways. Steph's family lives like an hour away, so we could also just have them pick us up. We go stay with them for free, hang out, go swimming in their pool the first night, and then they'll drive us to Disney. We'll do that. We go back home to them, and then they'll take us to the airport in the morning. It's just we got to look at flights to see if we can get on and off like that without being stuck in the airport for like a day with my.
Because you can only get standby, right?
Correct.
So
yeah. So really if it's so it's one of those things like we'll decide like 3 days before if we're gonna do it.
Because it's like the busiest time of the year is.
Yes and no. Like early December is fine. The busiest time is like Thanksgiving week. And then like the week after because everyone's coming back. And then there's a little slows down a little bit, and then leading up to Christmas, like the week of Christmas, it gets really busy again. And the week after, pretty much until New Year's, and then after New Year's, it's like dead. So we might just wait until January, but we kind of were thinking like, oh, if we can do it and swing it, we might do it so that like Miles can go to Disney for like his Christmas present / like it's Christmas at Disneyland, so it's like
so you'd bring
super pretty.
You'd bring him either way, or does it just be the two of you if you?
No, we'd bring him. Like we're not gonna go if it's not him. Like
okay.
We would go for his like his Christmas present would be us taking him to Disney for the first time. Kind of thing.
Dang, that's an expensive.
No, it's not really that expensive.
I don't know, dude.
I get discounts to Disney too.
From what?
From my job.
Delta gets Disney discounts?
Yeah. And hotel discount, like huge hotel discounts.
Really?
Uh-huh. It was like over $100 off per ticket with Delta.
Dang, dude.
Yeah. So we'll see. Well, I don't know. It all depends on flights and if Steph wants to actually do it or not.
You haven't told her yet.
No. She knows. We're just kind of playing it. Besides that, most of my plans are gonna be next year. Like we're gonna go to Italy and Paris next year. We're gonna go to
as a single trip.
Yeah, for like a week probably. No, I think we might take him too. We'll see. I don't know.
You should. If you're gonna go on you should leave him back. I don't know. I don't know if you're doing like a Europe trip like that. Like you want to like and focus on those things. So like.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
It's a lot of travel with a little kid too. But for me, I don't have anything planned because I do whatever, you know. I just do my normal routine. But like, I'm still hoping that after Star Wars Celebration Japan, like they announce one that's in the United States, because that's the only thing I'm kind of like looking forward to. Because like we keep telling you guys, if it's the next one after Japan is in the United States, we're going. And so
yes, I would like to go to that too, but I don't think I can get tickets.
Like, you have to just go on the website to see if tickets are still available.
Yeah. Well, I want to get press pass, but
well, you're not press passes for something like that. So you have to be like IGN.
I don't know.
You have to probably have like at least 50,000 subscribers on YouTube to like really, or be like a notable website or something.
I should just try just to see, because if I did, then I would go. I'd just go to Japan for Star Wars Celebration and come back
by yourself.
Yeah,
don't know,
I would just go. I would not.
Don't know any. Does Steph's sister live in Japan or is that Korea?
No, she lives in Korea. That's why, because Steph's going to Seoul next week to go visit her.
But yeah, that's the only plans I have. I don't really do much with my life. I'm kind of boring.
Our bigger plan was last weekend. We already did that.
Yep. Twin Cities Con. But yes, well, thank you, Garrett, for that voicemail. But next up, we have 2 voicemails from a first-time sender, and this person has an accent. So let's take a listen to
First time sender accent. Let's go.
from
It's like the 2 best combos.
from Ethan. So let's see if you can figure out where he's from just by the accent.
G'day fellas, it's Ethan here. I'm a long time listener. This is my first voicemail. I just want to say really appreciate what you guys are doing on the podcast. Love to hear your stuff. I've been up to date most recently, or somewhat. But then I took a little break. Now I'm back into it. But yeah, good on you guys. Keep doing your stuff. I had a question. I forgot what it was. But yeah, if I remember it in the next 5-10 minutes, I'll send it through. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Ethan.
I wonder where you're from.
Thank you for listening.
Down under. That's what's up.
Thank you for supporting us. You said you're a long-time listener, so thank you for that.
Yeah, that's so dope.
We appreciate it. And you said you're about almost caught up with everything, so that's even better. But he forgot his question, but he remembered it. So
let's go.
Which is a funny question. So let's take a listen to Ethan's second voicemail.
G'day lads, Ethan here again. I just remember the question. I'm like driving down to Denmark, which is like a 4.5 hour drive from where I live. But anyways, so my question was, what's something you'd find weird about Australian culture? Like I'm in Australia. I live in Perth, Western Australia. And I was driving. I had my Birks on. And I figured they're really uncomfortable to drive in, so I just took them off. And then that made me think that Americans don't walk around barefoot, whereas the majority of people I know here, we all walk around barefoot, or if that, just a pair of thongs on our feet. So yeah, what's something like that that's different that you don't think anyone else in the world would do? So yeah, thanks guys. See you later.
All right, thank you.
Say Birks are uncomfortable?
I don't know. What is it? Birks?
Birkenstocks, like the shoe.
Oh, I never even. Is that an Australian shoe?
No, you can get them here.
I never heard that. But the question is, what's something weird about Australian culture that we find weird? First thing about the shoes, like when I'm home, I'm barefoot. Like it doesn't matter if it's.
I'm barefoot right now, but I'm not gonna show you. Like, you can't see
your Frodo feet, like
you can't see my feet. You gotta pay me money for that.
But like even whether it could be 30 below or 100 degrees, like I'm gonna be barefoot usually. I don't like
let shoes on in my house, so
like I don't like walking around in socks. Like I just feel like it's making them dirty and like wearing them through. So like I don't.
And they're also like hot.
They're hot. So I feel like I guess I'm not around. Like when people are at their house, I'm assuming they're mostly barefoot. Most people,
I would assume.
But like if you're at someone's house, if you're at someone's house,
it's kind of weird to be barefoot.
You're not going to be barefoot unless like.
Well, no, like if you're going to someone's house and you're wearing, what did he say? No, well, how did he say sandals?
I believe he said a term we don't use in America for those.
Yeah, those are cool.
That's much different.
I think the thing about Australia that I wouldn't even think. Okay, so like there's definitely cultures in America that also like are barefoot a lot. Like there's even like hikers that do it barefoot. You know, like
because that's how they used to do it in the prehistoric days.
Yeah, like it's not really that uncommon. I feel like for you guys, it's almost weirder because like you're walking outside barefoot. Like how many opportunities is it for you to die out there? But
yeah, you guys gotta shake out your shoes. That's why they probably go barefoot because they gotta shake out their shoes, make sure there's not some venomous something in there.
And like that's why a lot of cultures like did go barefoot because they were more focused on what they were walking on.
Yeah.
In high school, I did a whole thing. So I like used to wear like those toe shoes.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
I was one of those people. So like I used to do those hiking shoes that are like literally like the 5-finger shoes or whatever they're called. So I used to always wear those, and I used to like hike in those, and like I loved them. I should pull them out and wear them again this summer.
No, you shouldn't.
Dude, they're nice, dude, and like they're better for your feet, and like we're not supposed to be wearing shoes. Like that's just we're not, but whatever. That's besides the point. I would think certain words you guys say that are like just like normal for you guys to say.
There's one gripe that I have with the Australian dialect of English. Why do you guys put an R at the end of like no? You guys like no. I hate that so much, Australia.
Oh, I'm
like,
thinking
you always add random R's. Like, what are you guys doing with your life?
There's words that they say that are like super inappropriate here, but for them it's just like a normal word.
I'll
tell you off camera, but like I feel like that's more interesting for me than you guys walking around barefoot all the time. Also, Birks aren't that uncomfortable, but I guess if you don't wear shoes that much, and it's always like really hot, so you guys are always in flip-flops.
And you guys love your, was it Vegemite? Is that what it's called? That spread that's supposed to be super terrible and gross, but like they love it down there. Like I've never tried it. I don't want to try it, but like,
yeah,
you guys need to calm down about your
I would try
Vegemite.
it.
But here's the thing. Like I don't really like, if I were to go visit Australia, the only reason I would go visit Australia would be go to Australia Zoo. Like
that would be the only reason why you would go.
Yeah. What else is there in
There's
Australia?
So much. Dude, the coffee culture in Australia is crazy.
I don't know anything.
Actually, it was like last week. Yeah, last week there was 2 guys from Australia that are like trying to move their coffee company to the US, and they're trying to figure out where to do it. And I like hung out with them for like 3 hours before I had to go to my other job. I was my coffee job, and I was like literally talking to them about coffee, cupping with them, and doing all that stuff. It was really cool. Like I got it. These 2 Australian guys were hanging out with me for like 2 hours, so that was actually really cool. But yeah, I don't know.
But
I would love to go to
Zoo,
Australia.
That's cool, is because for millennials, like Steve Irwin was the goat. Like I watched him all the time when I was a kid. Like every episode of whatever show he's on, every show I always watched him. R.I.P. But you've seen like videos of like his son.
Yeah, his son's popping out too.
Dude, he's just like perfect.
The same thing.
Same guy, but it's cool to see that the Irwin legacy is continuing. And when I think of Australia, I think of Steve Irwin first above everything.
Well, yeah. Or what's the crocodile? The guy with the giant knife.
Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
From the movies from the 80s.
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen in a long time. And I don't know if they hold up.
They probably don't. I just remember watching those, and like he brought this giant knife on the airplane.
Like you could not do that today.
No.
Kids. Like, but yeah, other than that, I don't really know too much specifically about Australian culture. There's this YouTube, people I see watching YouTube, little shorts and stuff that are from Australia. Very not family friendly content, but like it's kind of cool, interesting hearing them talk about things in Australia. But yeah, well, thank you, Ethan.
Yeah, and if we're ever in Australia, we'll hit you up.
Yeah. Well, we got to figure out how to contact him. But yes,
we'll put the word out. Just keep listening.
Yep. And then Ethan, send us some more voicemails. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us maybe like you could do like a running series of like fun facts about Australia culture or something like that. And then we could critique that thing like as Americans, like, is that cool, bad, like, or what? That'd be fun. But hope to hear from you again in the future. And that's the end of all our voicemails tonight. But if you have a cool accent and you've never sent in a voicemail before, what are you doing with your life? Send one in. Be as cool as Ethan is, and send in some voicemails and tell us about culture in your country. And so if you want to do that, go in the description below, click the links.co/Empire Radio, links spelled with 2 I's. Click on that landing page for everything Empire Radio, and one of those links is to send a voicemail. It's super easy. You don't have to sign up. You just got to record.
Just go to the website and
put your name in, and then it comes through on our end. And so do that. But if you want to get connected with us more, join the Discord. There's a link for that. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Follow us on Twitch for live streams. There's a fan email there if you want to email us about anything. Also a link for needlesslynerdy.com, which is an entertainment network that we're part of. So go click on that for more nerdy content. I think that's about it. Next week, we're also doing a 9 a.m.-ish stream. And we'll be doing the new Mace Windu book that just came out last month. The Glass Abyss, is that what it's called? Glass Abyss, yeah. Go check that out. I just started it. I'm not too far in, but it's a cool thing. It takes place just after episode 1, Phantom Menace. So go check that out. Get hyped for that because I'm excited to talk about that book. And then after that, we're going to have a Comics with Grace episode. And then after that, we have Skeleton Crew.
Yep, it's here.
And so that's here. And then we got some fun stuff after that planned. And then in March, we'll have EU March Madness, where Andrew will be going over 19 EU books from the new Jedi Order, 19-book story. And so he's going to be going like 4 or 5 books an episode, like really quick. I'm telling him 30 minutes a book to keep him on track because we're not doing 6-hour podcasts. And then after that will be April. So we'll get Star Wars Celebration stuff. We'll be getting Andor. And so
buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride coming up.
Yeah, we're kind of mostly booked through.
And we have some fun plans coming after that. Hopefully they work out with a potential special guest.
Oh, maybe. We'll see. But anything else?
No.
Drew? All right. Well, you've been listening to a John Williams-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And may the Force be with you.
Always.